Dundee Newtyle Railway was first proposed at a meeting of Dundee Town Council in 1825 in response to a grand plan to build a canal from Perth to Forfar and another from Forfar to Arbroath. As this would have made Dundee an economic backwater, the decision to build a railway was taken. A committee of prominent men was quickly formed, which included George Kinloch, the driving force behind the idea, and who later became Dundee's first MP. His statue can be seen in the Albert Square. Construction began in 1827, and by December 1831, the line was open for limited business from the back of the law. Newtyle was chosen as the terminus for the railway because of the Vale of Strathmore's rich agricultural produce and its need for coal, lime and fertiliser from Dundee. The railway, which was 11 miles in length and with a gauge of 4 foot 6.5 inches, consisted of 3 stationary steam engines placed at the top of 3 hills. Carriages and wagons were then pulled up or lowered by rope on a sloping path called an inclined plane. The 3 planes were known as the Law, Balbeuchly and Hatton inclines. The 2 level stretches between the inclines were known as the North and South levels. When the line was fully opened in 1832, the train journey started from the Wardroad terminus, following the ringing of the bell 4 minutes before departure. This was the signal for passengers to get aboard and for the rope to be attached to the leading carriage. After a second bell was rung, a white board was turned towards the engineman manning the first stationary engine, alerting him to start the tow. This telegraphic procedure was carried out on all 3 inclines and was aided by the use of telescopes and bells in poor visibility. The train was then pulled up the Law incline. The length of the tow was 1,060 yards, the gradient was 1 in 10, and it took 6 minutes to travel the incline. At the top, the rope was detached and the train was coupled to a horse which pulled it through a tunnel cut in the hillside underneath the present boundary of the High Kirk. The tunnel was 330 yards in length, 10 foot 2 inches high and 10 foot wide. Its excavation posed a major challenge for the tunnellers, as the expected hard rock, which they hoped to sell, turned out to be dislocated whinstone, a combination of earth and loose stones. After 2 men were killed and several others injured due to rockfalls, it was decided at considerable expense to line the tunnel with brick. This unforeseen expenditure was of major concern to the cash-strapped company. Years later, when the incline was bypassed, the tunnel was used to grow mushrooms and was used during the Second World War as an air raid shelter. A short distance later, the next stop was at Crossroads Station. The station and nearby workshops where the maintenance of rolling stock took place are among the best preserved relics of the original line. They are now situated in the western boundary of King's Cross Hospital. The station house was later used as a private dwelling until modern building standards forced its closure. This is a reconstruction of Crossroads Station as it might have looked when fully operational. After Crossroads, the line then led to Balbeuchly Station, seen during Caledonian ownership and in rundown condition. Nothing remains, though a bridge which crossed the later line is still in existence. About a mile further on, a level crossing carried the line to its next stop at Baldragon Station. The embankment is clearly visible from the road to Bridgefoot, and new houses now occupy the site of the station. Shortly after Rosemill was passed, the line turned north, the Dichty Water was crossed, and the foot of the second hill was reached. This was the start of the Balbeuchly incline, which was 1,700 yards long, with a gradient of 1 in 25. Again the horse was uncoupled from the train and the rope from the second stationary engine attached. Once the train had been pulled up the slope, the wheels would be chalked and another horse harnessed to pull the train onto the level and its next destination, Octor House. This stretch of track from the top of the Balbeuchly to the top of the Hatton incline was known to the company as the North Level. An accident occurred near here in 1834 when the miller of Octor House, Mr. John Anderson, was fatally injured after a train derailed and ran over both legs and an arm. His injuries were so severe he died soon after. It was thought he had boarded the train without paying his fare. This is Octor House Station, seen during Caledonian ownership. Now only the bridge remains. Construction of the line here involved draining a large area of bog, which greatly improved the land. The original station was slightly north of the one shown. The grave of the first station master, Mr. James Cox, can be seen in the churchyard at Octor House village. The stone sleepers used in the construction of the railway were cut from the nearby Pitnappy quarry at a cost of 6pence each and laid at the rate of 3,600 per mile. The railway line then passed Millhole Farm and wound its way to the third stationary engine located at the top of the Hatton Hill incline. Here the horse was uncoupled, the rope attached, and the train lowered to its final destination, Newtyle. The total journey took approximately 1.5 hours. Before the arrival of the railway, Newtyle consisted of a church, a smithy, and a handful of cottages. Several years later, a competition sponsored by Lord Wharncliffe was held to design the village in keeping with its new status as a rail terminal. The hotel and nearby houses were built as a result. Despite the success of the line in the carriage of both freight and passengers, the cost of the frequent changes of motive power and the coupling and uncoupling involved 9 times for each journey, together with the added expense of maintaining the stationary engines and regular replacement of ropes, meant that it led a precarious financial existence for the duration of its life. A number of people lost their lives during its operation, some by trying to board moving trains, others by rope breaks, and some by walking on the line. Freak accidents also took their toll. An ever-present danger was the problem of runaway coaches on the inclines. The builders of the railway had very little experience to draw upon, something they had in common with everyone else at that time. From the earliest days, the project was an overwhelming worry for the various people concerned with the railway. Put simply, there was never enough money. Shareholders never received a penny in dividend, and it was always underfunded. At times it was feared that construction would have to stop, as bills for rails etc. went unpaid and debts mounted. The only way forward was to deviate the line around the 3 inclined planes, remove the stationary winding engines, keep everything on the level, and extend the railway to Balbeuchly. But that is another story.